Good evening, everyone. Welcome to meeting of New Jersey Electric Vehicle Association. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. And unlike last month, we are starting and it's completely dark outside. And that's because the summer is gone. So let me start right now. My name is Sten Yarach. I'm the president of New Jersey Electric Vehicle Association. If you would like to follow the presentation at your own pace, you can scan the QR code here to access the presentation deck. Today, we are going to have the following agenda. I'm going to go through chair report. I will then bring our invited speaker. It will be Staci Artur from the Eastern Transportation Coalition, and she's going to talk about mileage-based user fee pilot program that will be very, very interesting. It's actually open right now for enrollment. And then the next agenda item will be debrief from National Drive Electric Week, which just ended. And then after that, we will go through upcoming events. And if we have enough time, we'll go through a little bit of a teaser about the next month's presentation, next month's invited speaker. So for those of you who are new on this call, I would like to mention something about the Electric Vehicle Association. We are a chapter of Electric Vehicle Association, New Jersey Electric Vehicle Association. And our mission is very simple. We educate and advocate for the rapid adoption of electric vehicles. Formerly, it was opened in 1967 as Electric Auto Association. We are the largest, America's largest nonprofit organization that accelerates the adoption of electric vehicles. There are about 100 chapters and thousands of members. Again, we educate our communities about the benefits of driving electric. We are involved in countless initiatives and projects throughout the US, and our national team coordinates and amplifies many of them for the public to see and experience. We have new members. Please welcome Manny Barrieros, Keith Silverman, and Teresa Callahan. We have also lots of renewals this year, this month. Diane and Dennis Bourzan, thank you for renewal. Jeff Cherins, Paul Fenn, Joe Gonzalez, John Linderman, Laura Mandel, Gary Mirkin, John Nizolek on call, Ashley Lynn Kwa, Patsy and David Wang Iverson, and Eric Weiss. We would like to also remind that we have sponsors, and one of them is Sioka Chevrolet of Princeton. And I just checked their website, and it's amazing that they are now offering the base model of all-electric Equinox EV, the 2025 model, with a range of over 300 miles. And after incentive, which now what is listed is the federal tax incentive, the base price is $27,495, which is really amazing. And we are glad to see affordable electric vehicles coming back to New Jersey. And that price does not include New Jersey rebate, although it also does not include the EV fee. And it now is also subject to 3.3% of sales tax, as the sales tax is phasing in. And the other models are Blazer, LT, and they are a little bit more expensive. Another of our sponsors is Signature Detailing New Jersey. All full members have 10% discount. For more information, go into the website signaturedetailing.com. And now we will go to our invited speaker, Staci Artur, the Eastern Transportation Coalition. Staci,
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Do you have your own slides?
Yes, I do. Do you mind if I share them
Sure.
real quick in
Let
between
me
this? There's not too
do
many.
co-host. And
Let's
now
see,
I will
share.
stop sharing so that you can share.
Okay. Let me know. Can you all see
I can
my
certainly
screen?
see it.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you, Stan. Appreciate it. Like Stan said, my name's Staci Arthur. I am working on behalf of the Eastern Transportation Coalition, along here with Matthew Dorfman, who's on. If you want to wave and say hi, Matthew.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I work for CDM Smith, and we're supporting the Eastern Transportation Coalition as a consultant in
Yes.
this pilot activity.
So we're here today, and thank you so much for allowing us to present, Stan. We're here today to talk about a pilot program that some of you may or may not have heard of in New Jersey happening now, specifically for electric vehicles. So it's called the New Jersey Mileage-Based User Fee Pilot for Electric Vehicles. Say that 5 times fast. But we're working with electric vehicle owners in New Jersey for this, and just wanted to give you all an update and hopefully let you know some information and see if anyone would like to join our pilot and help us explore new transportation funding options. So first off, who is the Eastern Transportation Coalition? As some of you may be aware, it's a partnership of 19 states along the East Coast, including Washington, D.C., that's focused on connecting public agencies, as well as increasing safety and efficiency and modes of transportation. They do a lot of work with different states along the East Coast. And for this pilot that we're performing specifically, we are working with the New Jersey Department of Transportation. So they are a partner with us, helping us with this pilot. So first off, just want to talk about the opportunity here. So as many of you know, state and federal gas taxes have been the main source of transportation funding across the country for years and years, over 100 years. But since many people are turning to more fuel efficient vehicles, electric vehicles, there's less and less money going towards transportation in that gas tax area. And since, electric vehicles don't use any gas at all, there's less going into that. Now, I'm sure many of you are aware that New Jersey just passed a new law into effect that the EV owners and drivers now pay an annual electric vehicle fee, which we'll chat about here in a minute. But for this pilot specifically, we are looking into a different approach from the EV fee, the gas tax. It's called a mileage-based user fee. So basically, what that means, a mileage-based user fee is instead of paying for how much gas you use, or if you own an electric vehicle, you instead pay or contribute to transportation funding through the number of miles you drive. So if you drive 500 miles, you pay a certain percentage of that for those 500 miles. If you only drive 10 miles, you only pay a certain percentage towards transportation funding for the number of miles you drive, if that makes sense. So this is something that we're looking into. It's obviously not being implemented right away. We're just researching right now how this would impact, especially electric vehicle drivers for this pilot. So we launched a pilot on October 1st, so it's been about a week. And this program is where we're inviting electric vehicle owners, and specifically electric vehicle owners, not hybrid electric for this pilot. This is all electric vehicles only. We're asking that if you do drive one of those vehicles to join our pilot program. It's free to participate. Basically, what we're doing is simulating what an NBUF or a mileage-based user fee would look like. So you would pick a way to record your mileage, and that mileage would be sent to us, and we'd tell you at the end of the month how much you would owe if an NBUF system were in place. This is all simulation though, so no real money is going to be exchanged here. It's strictly just a simulation. So we also have different measures in place to protect privacy. We know that's important, and safeguarding data. Really, like I mentioned, we're researching and we want to know what electric drivers specifically think. We've done a couple other pilots in other states for just general public, but this pilot is unique in that it's specifically for electric vehicle drivers who have a unique experience with transportation funding. And if anybody has any questions while we're going along, feel free to type it in the chat or speak up. We can answer those at any time. But we'll keep going then. So for our specific pilot here, we're hoping to get at least 50 to 100 participants. This pilot has actually taken off very well. We've almost hit that 100 participant mark, but we're still looking for more people. So that's why we're presenting today. So like I mentioned, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, unfortunately, are not allowed in this pilot, but all electric vehicles are. So if you live in New Jersey, above 18, and you are interested in participating in this pilot, we'd still love to have you. We're trying to get as many folks involved as possible. And like we said, enrollment started October 1st, but it'll keep going for at least the next few weeks. There's not a close date yet, but at least through the next couple of weeks, that'll be open. So why join? Since electric vehicle owners have this unique perspective of you don't pay the gas tax, but now in New Jersey, there is that new electric vehicle fee that was enacted this year. You have a unique take on transportation funding, and we want to hear from you. We want to know your experience. If you like the NBUF system better, if you don't, we want to hear about it. Is basically what this pilot's for, is getting your feedback. So the other important thing to note here is that if you are eligible and you decide to participate in this pilot, you can earn up to $100 as an incentive for participating. And this $100 will come in the form of a digital gift card. But there's many, many choices to choose from on where you can redeem your gift cards, but it'll be up to $100. So we are hoping and to get as many voices as possible, because electric vehicle owners have a high stake in this, and especially with the new EV fee that was enacted, we want to hear from you, comparing that to an NBUF and what you think. So how to join, I saw somebody was putting in the chat how to register for this program. It's fairly simple. All you need to do really, and we'll make sure and send these slides out and information to everybody at the end. But basically, you're going to go to our website. You're going to enroll, which you'll just need your vehicle information, just basic email information, phone number, things like that. Once you enroll, you'll be asked to choose an option for recording your mileage. And I'll talk about those in a minute, but you'll choose an option to record your mileage. You'll activate that, and then you just drive normal like you would any other day. This pilot will last for 4 months, starting from October 1st. So it'll end on January 31st. But really all you need to do is drive. You don't have to, change too many things up from your routine. It's pretty easy. At the end of the pilot, we'll just ask if you have selected a physical device to send that back, or if you have telematics, you can deactivate. Fairly simple there. I know I see some comments coming up. Matthew, do you mind seeing if there's anything we should answer right away?
Sure, and some it looks like Patrick has been kind enough to put the link for enrollment in there. I guess Ashley Lynn's question is, can we walk through what they mean? Some of these terms may not. I honestly don't know precisely what they mean. I assume ID is simply an ID number, where referring to either the individual or the vehicle or the mileage reporting option. RUC charge is probably an error. That should probably say MBUF charge. I would be curious as to where it says RUC charge. RUC is simply another term that means MBUF. It means road usage charge. It has no other meaning. It's just a mileage-based user fee. And fuel tax credit is something that also it doesn't really have a relevance to this program. In the other pilots, we've included internal combustion engine vehicles, and internal combustion engine vehicles typically would pay the mileage-based user fee in place of the electric vehicle fee. So in place of the MBUF in place of the gas tax. So the fuel tax credit, you would be credited whatever fuel tax you paid, and then you would pay the MBUF instead of that. So because this pilot is a we're basically the mileage-based user fee is being paid in place of the electric vehicle fee. So instead of the $250 a year fee under this simulation, you'd be paying by the mile instead of simply a flat fee per year.
Great, thanks for that explanation. Hopefully that answered your question, Ashley, but if it didn't, feel free to chime in again. And I see there's more questions coming in. I'll keep going and we'll come back to the questions. Just make sure we don't take up too much of your time. But it sounds like some of you may have already enrolled, which is great. Thank you so much. But if you decide to enroll, you haven't already, you'll be presented with around 4 options of how you can record your mileage for this pilot. There's 3 options that have GPS capabilities, meaning they know where you are as a GPS does. And then there's one without GPS capabilities. There's not one that is better than the other. They all give us the data we need. It's just really personal preference of how you want to record your miles. So like I mentioned earlier, incentives is a big part of this pilot. We know that you're helping us out here, and so we want to provide something for you as well. If you're a member of the general public, meaning you're 18 years old, you live in New Jersey, and you're not employed by a state or government agency, and you're not an elected official, you are eligible to earn up to $100 by completing all the pilot activities that we ask of you. So basically, there will be 2 surveys throughout the pilot, one at the beginning and one at the end. And we'll ask that you record your mileage through one of those 4 options from before. And if you do that and follow all the other instructions that come along, you'll be eligible to earn that $100, as long as you're not employed by a federal agency or an elected official, things like that. So we also have some ways that if you know others in the community that you want to invite to participate in this pilot, we have a couple different ways that you can share about this opportunity. We have the website, which is where you can go to find the enrollment page, and we'll share all this with all of you. On the website, we have a quick overview video that kind of puts everything we've said today into like a 1.5 minutes, easy to digest. Plus this other content here that we can share with you, and you can share with friends, family, whoever you think would be interested in participating in this. So like this is basically what I already mentioned before. We did talk to Stan previously, and he was gracious enough to allow us to present in this meeting. So thank you so much. But that kind of brings us to the end here. And I saw there was a couple more questions that popped up. Let's see, do you know what the next question was, Matthew? So we can get those answered.
Well, I guess I can reply. There have both been more comments than questions. I can comment on either of them. Ashley Lynn commented, no trouble on my end, was just curious if the driving trips were being geotagged for driving behavior and insights. And I don't know what mileage reporting option that you're using, Ashley Lynn, but in general, the app does all of the analysis on your own phone itself. The actual location data isn't shared beyond the phone, so there will be some computation of data to the point of doing miles by state, and that information is shared beyond the phone. But any other analysis is performed on the app itself. It's not shared more widely. And John comments, "I'm using the app, no plug-in device. A little scary knowing that Big Brother is watching me." It is true. The plug-in device does send the location data to the central computer of our or the central system of our technology supplier, and they would compute on their computers miles by state. The idea would be that the state would never know specific location. No government agency would know a specific location. But it is true that with the plug-in device, there's no way to put a smartphone level computer on one of those relatively cheap plug-in devices. So the location data is shared with the technology.
Exactly. And if that's something that you're really not wanting any GPS, that's why we provided the manual odometer upload, which is basically just taking a picture of your odometer every month, and there's no GPS recording surrounding that as well. But I've probably taken more time than we were given, but if anybody else has any questions, now's your chance. Oh, looks like Ashley had a follow-up question. Are there then levels of comfort options for people to select based upon how comfortable people are with sharing, i.e. self-report as level 1, app as level 2, connecting telematics and app as level 3? I'd say that, I mean, I don't know if I can go back here to my previous slide. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, but I believe all of the apps or all of the options that have GPS are fairly equal. There's not one, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong. They feel fairly equal.
The most sensitive to those might be privacy sensitive, because with a plug-in device, the GPS data points are being shared with the central computer system in a very secure way that can never be shared further, but they actually are transmitted. With the telematics system, technically the technology vendor only gets one ping of the vehicle per day, so like one location of the vehicle per day. It's actually not high enough resolution to do miles by state, but it does use some location data, so we identify it as a location-based method. Hopefully in the future there could be some aggregation of miles by state using the telematics system, but unfortunately that isn't possible today. The smartphone app, as I mentioned, does the aggregation on the phone itself, but it does use location. And then just taking a picture of the odometer is the very simplest one, and that obviously doesn't use location at all.
Thanks for clarifying. Appreciate it. Looks like Robert said state and federal government employees can't participate. They actually can, they just aren't eligible to receive the $100 incentive. So if somebody was really gung-ho and wanted to participate even without knowing they'll get the $100, they are welcome to. Convicted felons, they should be fine.
We're not asking
as
that.
long as, they're following the rules and everything, then should be no problem there. There's no checks on background checks or anything like that. And then Ashley, I think you were just replying here. So anyway, thank you all so much for listening to us. I probably went a little over time here, but I'm going to send some follow-up materials. Stan, would you be the best one to send those materials out to everyone?
Yes, I actually did receive already some material, but I had one question. So,
sure.
And this is beyond the pilot, because when, let's say that a mileage-based user fee system would be implemented, well, if this is based on a device that is inserted into the vehicle, what is the enforcement that people will not be taking it out of the vehicle, that they will be just pretending, oh, I'm not driving, so I don't pay, right? So that's one question. And then the other one, we are talking about driving everywhere, not just within the state. And if the device is measuring the distance driven in New Jersey, okay, it will be paid to New Jersey. But if I drive off to a different state, does it mean that I don't pay, or it will be routed to different jurisdiction?
I'll answer the first question and just say that the device records when it is plugged into the vehicle and when it's not plugged into the vehicle, and also transmits on a daily basis. So the technology vendor knows if the device is plugged into the vehicle. The enforcement would be each vendor would need to report. And you know, there are reasons to unplug these devices. The OBD2 port is used by the car mechanics to just figure out what's wrong with the vehicle. So simply unplugging it isn't necessarily suspicious behavior, but leaving it unplugged for a long time could be. There would be a lot of details, and to be frank, the plug-in devices are a bit more complicated in that they can be unplugged. So we have no idea if any or all of these options would be offered in a real program. We're offering the variety because we would like people to be able to experience them. We're not saying that the government would necessarily choose one or more of these options, but enforcement is an issue, and it's an issue with all of the different mileage reporting options. I can't remember your second question was about the allocation of miles by state.
Correct.
But what was the exact question?
Well, I'm kind of heading to certain answer, but if I drive outside of the New Jersey, outside of the jurisdiction, is it going to be routed to different state, or I will not be charged?
Down the line, that is a possibility. If two neighboring states or multiple states have implemented these mileage-based user fees, then potentially it could be routed to different states. Today, there are only 3 states with an operational NBUF system, and those are Oregon, Utah, and Virginia.
Oh, your sound cut out, Matthew.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Oregon, Utah, and Virginia, they don't really interoperate yet, but the idea would be if there were more states and neighboring states that they could potentially route miles to either state. That again, that hasn't happened yet, but that's a possibility that would be explored.
And maybe it would be also easier to just read the odometer reading on regular intervals and just assign the money to the parent state where the vehicle is registered, because just like I could drive to different state, someone from different state could drive into New Jersey, so it could kind of roughly compensate to each other. Anyway,
that is another solution. Sure, absolutely.
The other thing is, what if I want to have another OBD device in my vehicle because I'm collecting data?
Vehicles typically cannot handle more than one OBD device, and that's why we would have other mileage reporting options. Probably the OBD device alone would not be a good option for the system.
Yeah.
I'll go to the other questions. Andy observed, so the vehicle telematics does not record locations. That's basically true. Again, the system just isn't sophisticated enough. Technically, the technology vendor receives like 1 location data point per day, but they don't record it. We only marked it as a location-based option because we didn't want to suggest that there wasn't this 1 ping a day. So that's basically right. But yes, it does not get dense location data, vehicle location information at all. Then Ashley Lynn writes, sounds like it's communicating a bit more intelligently within its own system, since it's reading my odometer that is tagged and connected to my Kia platform. My daily driving miles are tallied and then sent to the NBUF program. So no location is pulled, whereas the app needs to pull locations in order to calculate the distances. Yeah, that's basically right. The telematics does the odometer each day, I think, and gets the total distance driven that way. And then Dennis writes, but when you purchase gas, the tax is paid in the place of purchase. Doesn't matter if you're driving in and out of the state. That is correct. There is no attempt to balance gas tax paid by light vehicles. There is for heavy vehicles. That's the International Fuel Tax Agreement, but it does not exist for light vehicles. the gas tax does a lot of things very approximately. So the argument could be made that you should do miles by state if you have that data, whereas you don't have that data with the gas tax. But as Stan pointed out, you could also just proceed in this way and just assume everything balances out. Just assign the mileage-based user fee by state. At the moment, we're just exploring options. We are not policymakers. We are not lawmakers.
Exactly. I think Ashley pointed to that as well. That this is just a pilot and we're simulating everything at this point. This is research. We're hoping to use this for future, legislation way down the road, but we're still in testing and pilot phases. So that's why we're asking for your help as electric vehicle drivers right now. Looks like James had a question or said something here. I assume the purpose of this program is to replace the yearly fee. Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
This is how we would presume that the New Jersey lawmakers would proceed. In those states of Oregon, Utah, and Virginia, that's what has been done by the lawmakers. The MBUF is paid in place of the yearly fee. You do not pay both, and that would be the most logical explanation. Again, we don't work for the New Jersey legislature. We can't guarantee that that's how it would be implemented, but certainly for the purpose of the pilot, that is how we are simulating it.
Okay, did we miss any questions or anybody have any further questions?
Can I ask one more quick one?
Sure.
I'm just curious, as this does sound promising, but just on the timing, I wonder if you guys knew. It seemed like it would make more sense to do this pilot before sending us a big increase in our registration fees. How did that work, and why is this coming out now? Do you all know?
That is a very good question. You want to go and take this one, Matthew?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, we had been talking with the state of New Jersey about doing a pilot or other transportation revenue work. And then we honestly were surprised as anybody that this fee passed. We had no foreknowledge of that. We were not aware that the legislature was that close. It just sort of happened. And honestly, then after it happened, there was greater interest in doing an actual pilot. So we then moved on and said, okay, yes, we will definitely do a pilot as an alternative. But we were surprised by the fee passing this year.
Did you have the pilot before in New Jersey?
Do you know that,
We did,
Staci?
yes. We did do a pilot in New Jersey, I want to say 2021 or 2022, somewhere along that time frame. And it was
21, because I remember the vehicle and I trashed the vehicle in 21, so it must have been in 21.
Yes, I believe it was more of a general public pilot and not focused like this one is on electric vehicles. So that we do a bunch of different pilots in the eastern states right now with different audiences, and this one, like I said, is the first one that we're doing specifically for electric vehicle owners. But yes, you're right, there was one previously in New Jersey. Looks like Ashley, you had a question?
Less of a question and more of context for the folks that are like, how could this happen? As context for all of you folks who are like, who is this person? Why is she here? I'm the policy lead for this organization and I wear many hats. But as context, I helped get S2252, the EV Act, across the line way back in the yonder year. And I used to work for the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities for a lot of this stuff. But I remember when your pilot came out for the all vehicles. And I remember when that was around. But as context for the folks that are like, what's going on with all of this? So back when S2252 was making its way through the Office of Legislative Services, and they were trying to figure out what that EV Act needed to look like, there was a component that was in there that said, hey, we should study this. EVs will eventually make up a large enough portion of the population where we're not going to get enough gas tax. What about the Transportation Trust Fund? People are going to start to panic about that. But enough of the legislators had said, it's too contentious. You need to take that out of the bill because it doesn't make enough sense for us to fight about that now. We should just fight about that later. Well, now it's later and people are panicking, and that made it across the finish line in less than 48 hours because enough people found out about it in spring of this year that a lot of the advocates and a lot of the people that I work with on the policy side found out, tried to do something about it, and they just shoehorned it across. So nobody was happy about it. From multiple sides. And so I think that the work that you folks are doing is extremely important. And honestly, it's usually a good show of practice to do a pilot to understand what should be happening before you just do weird back of the envelope math of, yeah, 2006 Camry is like $250 in gas tax a year. That sounds about right. And then slap that on the books. But generally speaking, that's your context for anybody that's like, how did this happen and why didn't we do pilots? There should have been a pilot. There was one built into the original EV Act, and then it got trashed a couple of years back. But that's where it was.
That's really helpful context, even for my side. So thanks, Ashley. Appreciate that. Yes, because we're kind of isolated in this pilot realm sometimes. So it's good to hear. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Stan.
And that I would say that this is a very good segue for our next part. And before I do so, I really want to thank Tracy for coming to our presentation, to our meeting, and present about the project, because yes, it is very important. And so the segue is that our next part will be Ashley is going to continue to talk about her EV conference debrief, because over the last few weeks, there were several conferences, fourth at least. That's what I know, because this is our partner for my job and stuff. So yeah, please welcome Ashley Lynn, our policy lead. Could you please tell us what's new out there?
Yeah, for sure. Staci, thank you again for telling us all about the NJEVA program and everything that's going on. I think that's super impactful for us to talk about these things. But yeah, the conferences that I've been at have been predominantly the reason why nobody has seen me at our EV ride-in drives and why I have not been able to attend a lot of our events. I haven't been physically in the state to do it, or else I would have absolutely shown up. It's broken my heart a little bit. But National Drive Electric Week, National Clean Energy Policy Week, a lot of things have been happening across the nation. So to give you folks a very quick rundown, since I know we're kind of running short on time, is to kind of give you folks a debrief about the really big conferences that have been happening. And since in my, my day job with the many hats that I wear, I'm the Senior Manager of Transportation Electrification for SEPA. It affords me the ability to do a bunch of conferences, speak on a lot of different topics, and get sent to a lot of really cool places. And so the very first place was actually RE Plus in Anaheim, California, and that was all the way at the beginning of the month. And I was there for the very first week of September. And so the really cool part is that at RE Plus, if you've never been there, don't know about the conference, it's run in combination by SEPA and by SEIA. And so that's about 45,000 people in one location. And if you can't conceptualize 45,000 people, it's okay. I can't either. The really cool thing is that there's been a lot of movement, specifically on the front of actually hydrogen, funny enough. So interestingly enough, there was actually the H2 Grand Prix where they actually had high school students and middle school students from over 15 different countries. Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, France, and a couple other countries were there. And in a timed race, they actually had these small hydrogen capsules that they actually had to use in order to power their different vehicles. And they were doing it for the purposes of making sure that STEM students from countries around the world were able to kind of show their intelligence and their innovation. And it was also that way we can kind of uplift clean tech. And so while I know that we're the Electric Vehicle Association, I think it's important for us to recognize that hydrogen may have a place in medium and heavy duty mobility options, and the understanding that it might start to take form and take shape in other types of transportation. So it's actually had a big portion and a big space in a lot of different webinars and conferences that I've been going to. So it's something that we should be aware of, because more people will inevitably be asking us, but what about that hydrogen stuff? So I think it's important for us to recognize that it may have a place in medium and heavy goods and people motion, and we really do need to be aware of it. Other things that have been really on the front lines has honestly been the exciting ingenuity that's been happening just generally from the mobility standpoint of how are we talking about electric vehicles from the perspective of virtual power plants, VPPs. If you haven't heard that term, you should look it up. It's pretty cool. But from bidirectional and managed charging. And that kind of took us from RE Plus in Anaheim all the way to 4th when we were actually in Detroit not too long ago at the end of September, where the concept of bidirectional and managed charging came to the forefront as we started talking about extreme weather events, climate change, and storms, as we saw Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida really get hit by those storms. And so when we're talking about different people using 25,000 Generac generators and people saying, well, should I use this dual fuel generator or something else? It's very interesting to see that people are still relying on these, what we consider old tech, when in reality, there's various pilots like the Ford F-150 Lightning pilot that's being run by Sunrun and Exelon over in Maryland, where you actually have a variety of different vehicles using bidirectional and managed charging principles to power homes. And yet we had a man who stood up in the middle of a panel and said, we've been talking about this since 2008. Why are the interconnection processes still taking 7 to 10 years for us to get this done? We do not have resiliency. We keep talking about this as emerging technology, and yet this should be here. And so people got put on the stand, they got put on the hot seat. And it was a really interesting thing to see where you had people kind of getting taken to the cleaners about topics that they really should be experts about. And so you're going to start to see more topics about bidirectional and managed charging really start to take to the forefront. And so it's been really interesting. And so I'm really kind of excited to start to see more of these topics come up, especially as we start talking about resilience topics and start talking about if somebody's buying an electric vehicle, can they get an incentive, especially if they're in an area that's maybe an environmental justice or maybe an environmental sensitive community that's near a waterfront that may need to evacuate quickly, or they may need to use that as a mobile, energy storage device or some type of energy backup or a virtual power plant. And what does that look like? There's a lot of studies that are going on now. That topic was also very prevalent at T&D World in Georgia. I did in fact fly into Georgia on purpose, intentionally, last week. And I was there from approximately September 30th all the way through October 3rd. And I presented at all of these conferences on various topics. But for that one, I was doing an energy equity community of practice discussion where we're talking about charging at multi-unit dwellings and about equitable charging practices. But what I was hearing the most in that community space, again, was nonetheless resiliency being brought to the fore about how are we talking about electric vehicles and resiliency measures and this interconnection process of if the very first guy is the reason why you have to do an upgrade of service, if you're the reason why your block needs to get some type of service upgrade, you as a resident need to pay for it, but the next guy who gets the charger doesn't need to pay for it. And what's the deal with that? So there's all of these issues that are now coming to the fore on regulatory and policy issues about who pays for what, when do we pay for it, what are these interconnection issues, and how are we making sure that things are equitable and accessible. So these are the topics that have really been coming up very frequently, separate and apart from the very specific tracks that we're seeing at conferences where if you want to listen to it, you can go and listen to it. But these are the conversations that I've been hearing, and I'll make sure that I keep you folks abreast of it. So I'm happy to answer questions. And I'm also happy to respond to that thing that I saw in the chat where somebody was like, hydrogen is super not popular in the energy and equity justice communities. You are super correct. I work with my EE&I director very frequently, and you are 100% on the nose about that. I think I saw Dennis's comment, but it went by super fast, so I need to go and scroll back to that. EVs would use a hydrogen-fueled fuel cell. If we make it using renewables from green sources and not oil, it may solve a lot of long-distance problems. Actually, there was a gentleman at RE Plus where his entire use case is that he is from a company that's actually in Austria, and they are proposing just that. They've already won formula and seed funding in Austria. Jenbacher is the name of the company, Jenbacher. They've already won multiple rounds of seed funding, and they're actually planning on doing something that's like that. And they're specifically focused on medium and heavy duty charging and I think energy storage as well as a function of that, but basically using hydrogen in order to produce enough energy to fuel electric vehicles and to produce the electrons to fuel electric vehicles to make green energy. That is exactly what their business proposition is. So Dennis, you hit the nail right on the head. But if anybody else has questions, I'm happy to take them. If not, thanks for letting me give you that update.
Well, thank you, Ashley. That was very quick, but right on spot. And I'm glad that you included energy storage, grid interconnection, vehicle to load, and of course, hydrogen, which, by the way, is indirect greenhouse gas, because the way how it functions is that it competes with the degradation pathway for methane. and it slows down its degradation. So methane is like 50 times more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, and it does degrade in the atmosphere. And the faster it does, the better. And hydrogen is slowing down that process. So that's another nail to the what I want to call a coffin to hydrogen.
We're going to start to see a lot of this hit the residential community as well. And I think while a lot of these things affect the commercial community, I think as we talk about bidirectional and managed charging for residences, as we start to talk about virtual power plant opportunities for people that have just their own personal vehicles, and as we talk about people having access to energy storage and other type of opportunities for their homes, more of these things are going to start to affect the average person in their own home rather than these large energy users that everyone keeps thinking that they are. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of tumbles down the chute, to see where it kind of lands for the typical person in their home, especially when it comes to interconnection. And, you know, do we have any of these particular opportunities available for if I want to upgrade my house? Do I want to upgrade my neighborhood? Why do I have to be the guy that does it? And then the next guy who wants to get the charger, they get off scot-free. And that's a really big question I've been hearing in a lot of different neighborhoods as well.
Okay, do we have any questions? Other questions?
My conference is posted online. The RE Plus presentations and the panels that I've moderated should be available online within the next couple of weeks. They had over 100 concurrent sessions happening simultaneously. But when those are all posted and available, I'll put my moderated sessions and I'll put links from the YouTube links available in probably one of our future newsletters. So if anybody wants those as resources, I'll send them to Stan so that they can go out as like educational resources.
Very good. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wait, I forgot one of the most important things because this pertains to you, Stan. I actually met one of your colleagues and I saw that there was a massive booth at Forth for the Charge at Work program, and there was a massive thing for EVAL, and there were awards that were being given out as well associated with that. And Stan, what's happening at the end of October? I feel like people should know about that. The deadline. You should tell people about that. For
yes.
places.
Well, and we are saying it over and over again. Everybody keeps being surprised. So the Electric Vehicle Adoption Leadership certification, which I have been working for the last 10 months very hard at Easy Ride. So it's going to be now paid service after November 1st. So for those of you who are still on the fence, it's much better to get certified now at whatever tier, even if it's bronze, and you need only 15 points. 15 points is easy peasy to get, okay?
It is free right now.
Well, what I want to say is that after November 1st, and you don't need to get recertified, it's for life. You know, the decal comes with a year so that everybody knows how long have you been certified. But if you have additional actions, particularly the workplace charging, that gives you lots of points. If you implemented it in the future, you can get recertified at your own choice. And the fee for the recertification will be only 2-digit figure. We have been given proposed pricing that will come out after November 1st. I'm not sure whether they will be final prices, what we were told, but the new certification will be 3-digit figure, over $500 actually. But if you recertify, it is 2-digit figure, right? So it's much better to get certified now for free. And if you need to recertify, you just pay 2-digit figure. And I can help you get certified rather quickly because I have been helping many, many businesses. In New Jersey, we just distributed 46 certifications to 25 organizations. The online application is rather fast and simple. So again, I can help you out. And yeah, in the future, if you get more points, then you can recertify for a very modest fee. So thank you for the segue. I didn't plan to say it.
They've been talking about that at Forth when I was there. And they had a whole entire section on workplace charging. And one of the things I was talking about was equitable charging in multi-unit dwellings. And we were talking about the massive importance of workplace charging as a function of that program that I'm doing. So I needed to give you that segue because we've been talking about it nonstop. But I'll cede the meeting back to you, Stan. All up to you now.
Okay, well, thank you, Ashley, for pitching in. It was very on time, very timely. And we'll go to our next session, and let me share my screen. And we have to hurry now because it's already 7:50. So, as you see, what we are talking about now is debrief from National Java Electric Week. I'm going to ask a few of you guys to step in as I go through the slides. I'll just go to the next one. What happened? Okay. Okay, good. September 14th, me and Dennis, we went to SUA Environmental Stewardship event in Parsippany. I'm just taking a guess, 300 attendees. We had only Dennis's smart EV displayed in front of the entrance. It was essentially meant to be indoor event. So we had a table, you can see our table in the back. Those gentlemen were standing and we were just, at that moment, we were listening to someone's talk. It was essentially dual purpose. It was environment, but as well, it was a memorandum or about the September 11 events in 2001. So that was me and Dennis. On the next slide, Andy, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, our attendance number was this year about 2,800. It was interesting to see that a number of folks who pre-registered ultimately did not show up. However, the loss was actually more than made up by the folks who didn't register and simply showed up and decided to participate. So overall, I think we had 12 pre-registered, and we ended up with actually 19 vehicles on the field. So we ended up with more than what we pre-registered with. But it was a really good event. We had probably the showstopper was Rich Lynn, who brought his F-150 that was towing a mobile gaming trailer, which is the business that he runs. So he actually has room for 16 participants inside this mobile trailer, and they can play gaming. And we actually had the front of the F-150 open. There was giant screen TV there. We had the side panels of the trailer open, so there were people playing video games all around the vehicle and the trailer. So that was actually a really good event. Weather was phenomenal. All around, just a great fun day for everybody.
And who is on the picture?
The gentleman in yellow is Mayor Marate. The woman in darker color is Andrea, who is on the town council, as well as my co-captain. And the one on the right is Ephraim Bukes, who is the chair of the Environmental Commission.
Very good. So it was collaborative event.
Yeah, and I had taken my glasses off so I could actually kind of like aim the camera, but then I couldn't see what was going on.
I can tell. Okay. Next one, Greenfest Newark. It was a small event after all. It was environmentally focused. About 100 attendees. We had 7 displayed electric vehicles. We had a table. And Mia and Dennis, we were the captains. What you can see that we are wearing our new T-shirts. I'm actually wearing it right now. And I just wanted to show everyone, those of you who did not attend any event yet. And this is the back of the shirt. If the, oh, it doesn't display. Okay, yeah, well. on some of those pictures, you will be able to see it. By the way, because of the time, I'm not going to go through all the pictures, but when you click on the picture, when you open the presentation file, it will open a photo album. Okay. Next one. Chatham Sustainability Fair and EV Expo. I'm taking guess that there were about 500 attendees. I used to attend this event in the past, but I was not able because it was at the same time as Newark. Our captain was Mario. Mario is not here today, so he cannot talk about it. But it was in partnership with Chatham Environmental Commission. The Highlands Green Fair and EV Show in Clinton. It was the week after that, the weekend after that. I'm taking guess about 300 attendees. It was lightly raining. Again, Mario, he was the captain and he's not here, so I'm substituting for him. We had a tent and table. We had about 18 displayed vehicles. There were more vehicles registered, but because of the rain, some people just didn't show. However, we had Honda Prologue for test driving, beautiful blue color. I did take the test drive and I liked it. And it was prepared in collaboration with Clinton Environmental Commission. The stuff inside on the picture, it is Rutgers Solar Racer. It is a model, it's a prototype that was built by Rutgers students, and they are bringing it to various shows. It was actually in Chatham as well. And it will be, it's scheduled to be on next Sunday in Flemington. Next one, National Jive Electric Week at Westfield now last Saturday, October 5th. We had about 300 attendees, 14 displayed EVs, and as you can see, we had on the front the smallest and the largest. From Dennis, it's a Smart ED, and on the left side, and on the right side is Cybertruck, Tesla Cybertruck. What was interesting that the Tesla Cybertruck was brought by Lee Clerville. He used to work at Tesla, and now he is having his own business, and he rents the truck to others. And he also brought a mini version for children, and that was very popular, really attractive for children. And I want to give credit to Amarish. He was pretty much co-captain. He ran it with me. And he's the member of the Westfield Green Team. So Westfield Green Team, they try to make EV show every year. The only reason they didn't make it last year because they were rained down twice. So they were out of luck. Patrick, take it from here. Sorry, I didn't put the picture there yet.
No worries. Okay, so yes, I did the Drive Electric Week showcase in Pittman, New Jersey. Our partners were Tri-County Sustainability and Sustainable Pittman. Because this was their first annual green fair, they were a little nervous about the space, so they only asked me to bring 6 EVs, and only 5 ended up attending. One of our owners is James, on here tonight with us at the meeting. So we only had 5 vehicles displayed, but we did have a good number of attendees and very encouraged with the interest and the discussions that were had. And one of our attendees was actually Caroline McCallum from Clean Cities, New Jersey. So she came over with her Tesla and put up a table for Clean Cities as well. So we gave out some t-shirts to the drivers and the owners, and gave out some of the stickers and window clings as well. So we had some good discussions, and I told them we can easily fit more cars in next year if we're able to.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Wonderful report. And well, that's me again. Although I have to give credit to Jeff from Somerville Environmental Commission. who made the registration on NDU and who brought all the swag and make the reservation for the gears from the portal organizers. So that was on Sunday. We had about 2,000 attendees. It was a huge event. It was 6 hours of net time, but some of us were there for 7 hours. Dennis, why don't you actually make a little bit of a debrief?
Okay, well, it was obviously it was a pretty busy day. Funny, a lot of questions revolved around, how often do you have to change the battery in the vehicle? I got that maybe 3 times. We were parked next to a plug-in Prius, which was very interesting because a lot of the people coming to view the cars were interested in plug-in vehicles, but hybrid plug-ins. So that, and further down from us was a Jeep plug-in 4xe. Those vehicles, you can't do vehicle to load. There's no 110 outlet on it. There's no adapter or anything. The pure EV, the Kia, the Hyundai, they had the option for it. And then I found out that the Mach-E also has the same option. He has a little connector that he can put in and generate 110 so that you can plug in an appliance. They don't advertise it. Ford doesn't say a word about it. So that was something new that we learned. That's really interesting. So that's about it. I can't think of anything unusual. What did we have? Oh,
well,
Fisker. We had a couple Fiskers.
Correct. We had 3 registered Fiskers, but one of them luckily decided to bring another of his electric vehicles, which happened to be the Kia EV6.
Right.
So that helped with variety.
Yeah, and the Fisker owners were so positive about their vehicles, and just disappointed that the company didn't make it. And I could commiserate. The smart car is, at least the smart car has Mercedes support behind it. So if we really need something, we can go to Mercedes dealer. We don't have that problem, but right now it seems like they solved it. They've got their service centers going, so they're happy owners again, or continue to be happy owners, I should say.
Very good. And I also need to make a credit to Ridewise. Ridewise sent out a press release, and they were not able to attend because of COVID. But we had one very interesting anecdote here. I'm not sure whether this is the good place to mention, but it's interesting because we had exactly the same event a year ago, and we didn't have any clash with police officers. But this year, just about 40 to 45 minutes towards the end of the event, when some people needed to leave, because when event is more than 4 hours, what we typically want to say, please come for any consecutive 3 hours. Okay, you can come later, you can leave earlier. And we had this agreement with the Somerville Environmental Commission. They were aware of it and they were in agreement. Well, they didn't run it with the police department. And the police department, they were not present all the time. The way how they function, that they leave their vehicles with the flashlights, pretending that they're actively there, but they are not, just to deter from general traffic entering the area. And we were diligently escorting electric vehicles in and out, even though there was lots of foot traffic. It was very safe, nothing happened. But because those police officers came about 40 minutes before the end, they gave us a hard time when Tim Lee with Fisker, he wanted to leave. And that was quite unpleasant. It also impacted Debbie with the Prius Prime, Toyota Prius Prime. So this is something that we need to continue to work on with the Somerville Environmental Commission. And just when I was making reference to Ridewise sending the press release, we had reporter from Tap Into interviewing us, and we were just notified yesterday that they released article, and I actually liked it quite a lot. This is just a screenshot, but it was really the first time that I'm seeing that they actually release what we say, and it's not there is no like conditions or kinks or that something is wrong with electric vehicles. This is really pro electric vehicles. This is really wonderful, and one of the images that they published. So the gentleman Austin Latanzio, remember that name. This is our reporter. We need to have him for all of our. Well, that reporter is working specifically for Somerville, but yeah. Upcoming events. Let's go quickly through. So we had one rain down. It was the day after Clinton event in Flemington. We decided to postpone it. So this is the Huntington Land Trust. It will be scheduled now for September 29, Sunday from 9 to 1. If you would like to, please hit the link and register. We are just coming, we are just asking to come 8:45 the latest. We will have other activities because Huntington Land Trust has scheduled lane painting. So it will be interesting. Maybe they will paint our EV show. Then on October 22nd, on Tuesday, we have electric vehicle awareness for firefighters in Princeton Junction. It is from 7:45 to 9:30. And on October 26th, we have presentation in Plainsboro Public Library. Thinking about EVs, get your questions answered. If you have some friends who are still on the fence, who would like to learn more, this is the perfect opportunity. It's from 10:30 a.m. to 12 noon. The event is free. Just a reminder to keep eye on the events. You can access our event calendar either through the Google ecosystem or on our website, jerseyeva.org/events. You can scan these QR codes to merge this calendar with your own calendar. And on the next event, we are going to have David Siriex from Ghost and Route X. And the technology is pretty much turn the charging cable into flat shape so that there is no trip hazard. When I have seen it for the first time, I thought this was pretty interesting. Do we have David here? If not,
He's here, but he's muted.
David, please unmute and you can say a few words. Next month, you can talk about it much more. And if not,
I think there's a group mute. So David, try to unmute. Okay, I guess now his video and mic are off.
Is it good now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. I've been on mute all along, but I was listening very carefully. Good evening, all.
Good evening. How are you? Can you give us 2 minutes overview?
Of course, maybe the most important is that we're going to launch, and I'm not advertising, I'm just giving you an update of what's going on with the company. We're going to launch on Kickstarter tomorrow. to raise some funds to go to the next step on the product. We have a functioning prototype of something that seems to be quite of interest. We have request of for distribution in Europe in 6 different countries, particularly Scandinavia and in England. We even have, just to give you a hint, request from defense government in the Benelux, which is kind of interesting. The product is quite advanced in terms of what it can do. And here is how it started. Maybe I should start with that. During the COVID period, I had an electrical car here in New York and was not able to charge it. And I had enough of going around or simply not being able to go on. I put a cover on my home cable to make it flat so that I could charge from my house to the street. From there, very quickly, I had enough of moving them around every day or every 2-3 days and charge again, because it was a Prius hybrid that I had at that time. And so therefore, I had only 25 miles of range, which I'm sure you all know was not quite enough. And so I decided to maybe find a different solution. That's so that we went along and we developed the product. Not right away. It took a year to figure out what to do with that. And we eventually built a prototype, patented, that was a year ago. And then we decided to market it. And this is where we are today. So what that is, it's a level 2. It's quite high. It's a 40 amps. 230 volt. It will give you about 28 miles of range of charge per hour, and which is plenty for most of us. In a nutshell, that's what it is. And it's called Ghost. Ghost because you don't see it. It's flat on the sidewalk and allow traffic. But most importantly, of course, at home, as importantly at home, when you have kids and you run between cars and preventing from any type of accident, even if you play basketball in the alley. We have requests from all around the country of people asking for longer cables so they could go over the grass and all kind of situations. Et voilà.
Very good. Thank you for the brief intro. No more, because we want to save the conversation for the next month.
I have plenty more.
Very good. So with that, I'm going to conclude our meeting, and thank you. Let me stop. Where is the here? Okay.